We're going to go in depth on flash loans. All right. So if you don't know what flash loans are, that's okay. I'm going to talk about them in this video. I'll explain what they are, how they work, and I'm even going to get you set up so that you can start doing your own flash loans. So I'm really excited to share this with you today because this is a brand new concept in the blockchain community. It's a brand new technique that's sweeping the DeFi space in the Ethereum community. All right. So if you're not familiar with what DeFi is, it just stands for decentralized finance. All right. So DeFi is basically taking existing financial products and pouring them over to the blockchain, things like savings and loans and derivatives and things like that. All right. So in this particular case, we're going to be talking about loans and how you can get loans with blockchain, with Ethereum, with DeFi tools. Okay. And specifically a flash loan, which is different from a regular kind of loan. All right. So let's talk about that. First, let's look at a regular loan. So think about a traditional loan for like a house, for example, right? So whenever you go buy a house, at least here in America, you apply for a loan, they check your credit score, and they lend you money to purchase it. Usually requires some sort of down payment, and then they use the house itself as collateral. So basically, if you don't make good on your payments, you lose the house, right? That's how it works. So this requires some sort of down payment or some skin in the game in order to get the loan in the first place, all right? And we already have that in decentralized finance, where basically you can take out a loan for a cryptocurrency, and you must first supply some different cryptocurrency as collateral. Okay, it's basically the way of borrowing cryptocurrency on the blockchain, but you have to provide some collateral in the form of another cryptocurrency in order to take the loan. Okay, this is frequently used by traders. It's one of the most common use cases right now in decentralized finance, as you can see here on DeFi Pulse. Okay, so here's how a flash loan is different. A flash loan allows you to take a loan without any money down. All right, basically you can borrow a large sum of money, potentially millions of dollars, without offering any collateral. And you might say, how can you do that? Like, wouldn't somebody just not pay it back? Like, they could just take the money and run. Well, here's the catch. You can take out all this money and borrow it as long as you pay it back instantly. All right, instantly. That's how it works. So that sounds really confusing, but I'm going to explain how that works, okay? So essentially, how it works is you can borrow money, do something with it, and then instantly pay it back, as long as you do all this inside the same transaction, okay? So what do I mean by that? Well, if you think about transactions on the blockchain, essentially, whenever you do anything on the blockchain, you create a transaction, right? If you send cryptocurrency to somebody, you create a transaction. If you interact with a smart contract, if you take out a loan or something like that, you're creating a transaction. So a really basic example is if I have MetaMask here, and I click send, and I put in your Ethereum address here, right? And I send you some cryptocurrency, like some Ether, then that creates a transaction on the blockchain. That's a very simple kind of transaction, right? Let's just move this over here. Let's say, basically, send your cryptocurrency from one account. So like, let's just say this is you. And then there's me. Sorry, it's really bad writing, but if you send cryptocurrency to me, that's just a basic transaction, right? So you can do more in a transaction, right? It's like anytime that you, call a smart contract function, like if I go to Remix, and if I were to open a smart contract, let's just do this my contract. Let's see this counter. This is a really basic smart contract. If I just like compile this and deploy it. All right, and then I call this increment count function. That creates a transaction on the blockchain. See, this is a function right here where I can basically do something on the blockchain, sign a transaction, and it increments this count here, okay? So that's also an example of a transaction. So like sending cryptocurrency is a transaction, calling a function that writes to the blockchain, increment count, calling a function that writes to the blockchain right here, that also creates a transaction. So those are both simple types of transactions. You can have very complex transactions, right? So let's think about a case where basically, say a complex transaction with a flash loan transaction. Basically, step one is borrow money. All right, step two is do something with it. And then step three is pay it back. All right, so if you look inside of this right here, basically, you can implement a flash loan inside of a smart contract function. So, you would say like step one, let's just say flash loan here. All right, let's just clear this out and just do a basic example. This is kind of pseudocode. This is not really going to work, but you'll get the idea. So basically, flash loan, and we'll say, borrow money, and then do something, and then pay it back. All right, so this is what I mean by you can borrow money, do something with it, and instantly pay it back as long as it happens in the same transaction. So basically, whenever you call this function, it'll borrow the money, do something with it, and pay all of it back. Now, here's the real kicker. Sorry. This transaction will fail if you don't pay all the money back to the original person you borrowed it from, okay? So that's what makes this whole thing work, right? Is that this transaction will only go through if you pay everything back. That's what makes it safe to actually perform, okay? So what does this do something? Well, a lot of times people are doing trades here. So trade the cryptocurrency. And sometimes this is a complex trade, but then they borrow it, they trade it and pay it back. We say they trade it and pay it back, doesn't make any sense. Well, then what they do is they typically arbitrage trades. So what is an arbitrage trade? So if you have a cryptocurrency on one exchange, let's just say it's Ethereum. Let's say Ethereum is $100 here, all right? And then on exchange A, all right? And then on exchange B, Ethereum is, is $101. All right, and then let's say you're able to take advantage of this price difference, and with a different cryptocurrency, let's say DAI, for example, you could buy Ethereum, or you could just take your Ethereum basically and sell it on this exchange to get a profit, right? It'd be a $1 profit, but it still takes advantage of this really small price difference, okay? So you might say, $1 profit doesn't sound like good if you only have like one Ethereum, but what if you had like 10,000 Ethereum and you could take advantage of this price difference? Well, then you would be able to make $10,000 in profit. So that's basically. That's the advantage that you have with flash loans, is you have access to large amounts of capital. Okay, so if you did 100 Ethereum, you could do 100 times 10,000. Let's say 10,000 Ethereum, right? That'd be a $1 million difference. Okay, or no, sorry, you need $1 million. What I meant by that. So if you had 100 Ethereum, you had 10,000 Ethereum at $100 per Ether. You would need access to $1 million worth of funds. So you could borrow $1 million and sell it and make $10,000 profit. Okay. So that's the power of the flash loan, is you can find $1 million liquidity pool is what it's called. Then you can borrow those funds, make the trade, and instantly pay it back. Okay, so that's what would happen right here. Sorry, let me pull my example back. All right, so do something with funds. You would basically make a trade. All right. So that's how you take advantage of arbitrage opportunity, and FlashLoans allow you to do that by hooking into the lending pool in order to make this money back for yourself. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to get started with FlashLoans right now. Let me get you set up and show you like where you can perform one of these, and issue you a challenge to like help the community continue on this effort, because there are a few people inside the program who are working on this. I wanted to show everybody else who's interested how to do it so that we can all figure this thing out together, because this is a brand new territory for blockchain and decentralized finance in general. So that's your homework assignment. All right, so let's take a look at this. Let's look at this first. This is Aave. So Aave is a platform that does several things in the DeFi space, but right now they're kind of getting famous for providing developers the ability to do flash loans. Okay, so essentially they're coming up with a set of smart contracts that give you access to liquidity and allow you to perform the flash loans so you can take advantage of these price differences. Okay, so one way to do it would be to get inside of Aave's developer documentation and try to piece this together yourself, or you could take an example of somebody who's already done this and implement Aave's smart contracts and do your own project. So this is exactly what I'm going to show you how to do right now with this project here. So this is an open source project that was brought to my attention by Matt Prime. I think I'm saying your name right, Matt. He's in our group. He brought it to my attention. I take a look at this. I think this is a really good starting point if you want to try to do a flash loan yourself. So I'll put a link to this down in the description. So I have to make a note for myself over here in the video notes, so that I'll put this in the video later. But yeah, so this is what we're going to do. Basically, we're going to take this project, and you would go to go to your terminal and clone it with git. So I'm say git clone, all right, and then paste in the URL. And I'm going to rename this to, let's see, Mr. Davey Easy Flash Loan. Just give me the project a new name. All right, so I've already got it. But if you don't have it, you will clone it into that directory. So I'm going to enter into it right now like this. Say cd Mr. Davey Easy Flash Loan. All right, and then inside of here, you want to install your node modules. So I'm just going to follow the instructions here. npm install. All right, so I've already done this, but that's what you want to do. All right, so next, you want to make sure you have Ganache CLI installed. So what is that? Well, essentially, it's a command line version. CLI. It's a command line version of the Ganache personal blockchain. Okay, so I'll show you how to install it. Let's see here, Ganache. So you might be familiar with the GUI version of Ganache. That's this right here. They're using a lot of my tutorials. You've probably seen this, or if you've been to the bootcamp, you've seen this as well. But the CLI version is a command line version that you can install right here. And it looks like this. Basically, you just do npm install --g Ganache CLI. All right, I've already done this, but that's what you'll want to do in order to install that. And whenever it's done, the next thing you need is an Infura API key. All right, so what is Infura? Well, Infura is a blockchain as a service. So essentially, it's provided access to an Ethereum node. So you want to just sign up for Infura, walk through the setup steps, and grab your API key. Okay, so I'm probably just going to reveal mine on screen here. It's not a big deal. But you'll want to get your own so that you can do this. And then what you're going to do is start Ganache CLI pointing to the mainnet. Just going to follow the instructions that are on this right here. All right, basically you'll do Ganache CLI, fork, and then pass in your mainnet key. I'm going to grab mine off screen here. Sorry, 1 second. All right, pass this in. And so what is this going to do? Well, one big advantage of the Ganache CLI is that it allows us to create a blockchain where you can mimic the Ethereum mainnet. All right, so what do I mean by that? Well, essentially, when you start this is the old version of Ganache, or the GUI version of Ganache, and all this does is it creates a fresh blockchain. Okay, there's no history on this. Basically, we've pre-mined all these accounts with Ether, but there's no existing transactions. But what you can do is start Ganache to mirror the main Ethereum network. Okay, so that's what this does, and that's why you need the Infura API key. Is it pulls down the state of the main Ethereum network and essentially forks it onto your Ganache personal blockchain. It's pretty awesome. Okay, and now what we're going to do is migrate the smart contract blockchain. There's already a smart contract inside of here. I'll show you that in a minute. But basically, you just do truffle migrate -- reset. All right, and that should put this on Ganache. So wait for that to finish. All right, done. Boom, there we go. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and open this in the console. Let's just continue working with the instructions here. Let's shuffle console. And then we'll say let f equals await flash loan deployed. And then await flash loan. All right. So I'm going to give you a heads up. It's not going to work. Actually, let's see here. So yeah, actually, it didn't bomb. Let's try it again. Might bomb this time. Yeah, it bombed. Okay, so that's okay. It even tells us that in the instructions. So basically, if your implementation is correct, it'll succeed. If not, basically, if you didn't make any changes to the project when you deployed it, and you call that, it's going to fail. So why is that? Well, essentially, you need DAI in your address on the mainnet in order for this to work. Or you might be able to unlock your account, unlock a different account who actually has DAI on the mainnet in order to get this to work. That's something I'd like to experiment with in the group. So if you have a good solution for that, I know that you can unlock accounts with Ganache, and you may be able to find a DAI holder. We'll see what Matt says with this whole thing, and if he has a good solution for us, we'll use his implementation and we'll move forward. So anyways, let's go ahead and look at the smart contracts that come with this. I'm going to exit this from truffle, say subble dot, and take a look at the project. So, you've got a truffle-config file here that's already pointed to Ganache CLI. Just note, by default, Ganache CLI points to 8545 as the port, whereas the the GUI version typically points to 7545. All right, the next thing I want to look at are the contracts themselves. So you've got the Aave smart contracts already inside of here. These are the ones I just showed you a minute ago in the browser. Okay, and then we've also got a flash loan smart contract that implements everything that we need. Okay, so how does this work? Well, here's the function we called in the browser, the console a minute ago. This is the flash loan function, and what it does is it keeps track of the DAI stablecoin address, all right, and it performs the flash loan. So it tracks the lending pool. This is the Aave lending pool, where you can have access to any sort of liquidity that you need for the loan itself, and then it calls the flash loan function on the lending pool itself, all right, and then it passes in this smart contract address. Okay. So there's a really specific function that's specified inside of the Aave documentation for doing the internal part of the flash loan. Okay, and this is exactly how they tell us to do it. And so here's where you actually implement any kind of trade that you want to do. So when you do the flash loan, you have access to the reserve, and then it pays the funds back. And if you don't pay the funds back, it'll fail. And so this is where you take advantage of the arbitrage opportunities. All right. So that will get you started doing your own flash loans. Okay. So the homework assignment for you to get this to work, and really collectively for the entire community, so we can kind of crack this nut together, is how to get this right here, one of these accounts working inside of Ganache CLI, and also how to basically do this where we can pre-fund our account with DAI and perform the flash on the mainnet, and then also find the arbitrage opportunities to put them inside of a trade where we can actually turn a profit right here. Okay. So that'll get you started. But those are the next steps that you need to do in order to get this to work for your own projects. And final word here. you know, this is legal advice, this is financial advice. I always encourage you to do these things responsibly. Always check on the legality of doing these kinds of things in your specific jurisdiction. You know, as always, use this for good and not for harm. All right. So, hope you like this video. I'm excited to see what we can do with this, and feel free to post in the chat room if you have questions or if you have some cool new findings on this. All right. So until next time, thanks for watching Blockchain Mastery University.